The British exit from the EU, there's an odd one at the moment relating to people contesting the 15-year rule. Basically, you can't vote if you've been out of the UK for 15 years, which I find a little strange if the same people are pushing, you believe it's going to have such a negative impact that the people that would be affected aren't even allowed to be voting. From my perspective, if they don't think it's important enough for you to be voting, if you've been outside the UK for 15 years and still a UK citizen, then they don't think it's going to have a serious enough impact. That's my view, because if it was going to be so serious, why are they not letting you vote? So I can see this being an interesting debate, because they're trying to push it through the courts in time for the referendum in the hope that people will be allowed to vote or not allowed to vote, one of the two, from those suffering with a 15-year rule. My personal view is from somebody that's parents were ex-forces. We spent time in other countries. We know many people that have settled in other countries, and it was all pre-EU. The world does not stop. The world does not stop turning. I've spent time in the Middle East. I've spent time in Asia, and there's people there, and they still get their pensions. They still have all the stuff that is so-called British, and leaving the EU will make no difference to them whatsoever. So I do think this whole scaremongering is utter nonsense. At the end of the day, let's be honest, if you're doing trade, you're doing trade. You don't care if it's EU or non-EU, and this thing with Cameroon kissing Obama's butt lately to try and get a response out of him is just utter nonsense. I don't see the American trade changing. America likes the UK involved in everything it's up to, because when it goes out to the Middle East and starts wars, who's the first people that they rally to come and support them, to try and drag other people into conflicts? Because the UK will always go with its American cousins. Whether the population agree with it or not, it is a fact. As such, they're not going to damage our trade, and why would they? It makes no difference to them. Doesn't matter if they're trading with the EU or the UK directly. It makes no odds whatsoever. So yeah, it's such a nonsense. I can understand the US being interested from a manipulation point of view, which is more cooperation, but at the same time, we shouldn't even be supporting that sort of stuff, because we're leaving ourselves open to be ripped off big style, like the housing boom when our banks were buying up debts. There's a lot of stuff that the US did to the UK economy that doesn't even get talked about. Anyway, thanks for watching. And I would say the 15-year thing, I think people should have the right to vote, because it's going to affect them, according to people that are pushing the EU thing as always a bad thing. So if they're saying it's such a bad thing, then they should get the vote to decide on their future, because it has an impact. Thanks for watching.